So let me ask you a question. When you decide you want to tell a story about your organization, how do you decide what to write? Like when you sit down to write it, what do you decide to say or write in that story? How do you decide which information goes in and what you'll actually share with your audience? This is a good question and a really important one I always encourage nonprofit professionals to consider because what you decide to say, and more importantly, how you say it in that story, can make all the difference in that story's ability to connect with your audience and help reach the goals you have for it. Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you the story structure that I teach my students and clients that's helped them raise millions of dollars in fundraising. Stay tuned. My name is Vanessa Lockshin, and I'm the president of the Storytelling Nonprofit, a consulting and training company that works with nonprofit organizations to help them tell stories that raise money and awareness. Through classes and webinars I've taught over the years, I've helped teach over 10,000 nonprofit professionals how to do better storytelling. And one of the things that we often come back to in these webinars and classes is the structure for that story. So today we're going to talk about using the right structure for stories, and there definitely is a right one in particular for fundraising stories. And I know some of you might be thinking, structure that sounds a little formulaic. Like, do I want to be telling the same story that every other organization is out there telling? And that's a really good question. But here's the thing, structure is just that. I think about it as a loose guide to help you figure out what to put where, but ultimately the details that you put in that story, the information you choose to share, the theory of change you convey will make that story unique and make all the difference in your ability to share that story, raise money, and connect with people. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 5-part storytelling structure, and then I'll walk you through it and show you how you can start to use this in your own organization stories. All right, so here we are. This is the storytelling structure. It is comprised of connection, character, conflict, resolution, and call to action. And this is more of a visual way of thinking about it for those of you who are visual learners, but I'll talk through each of the different parts of this. So for me, connection is all about that initial impact, that moment of impact where someone first comes across that story and you have to immediately make a connection with them, be it through values, through emotions, through a really small vignette or a life moment that captures their attention. Whatever that is, your job in the connection portion of the story is to make that happen and get your reader to continue to read or watch or whatever it is you're using for that story medium. And once you've established a connection, one of the things that you want to do is actually introduce a character. And you might do this simultaneously in the connection, but you want to unpack that a little bit more. Who is this person or this object or thing you're telling this story about? Allow people to get to know some of those details that make that story really memorable. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, I shared a video on how to tell stories like Charity Water. And one of the things that I pointed out that makes their stories really great are the emotions and details that make it memorable. So if you haven't watched that, be sure to click on over to watch that video next so that you can take a look at that and learn a little bit more about this idea of diving into the details and emotion of a character within the story. The third part of the story structure is conflict. Now, conflict is especially essential to fundraising stories, and this is something that I think a lot of fundraising stories miss. The conflict is where you're able to actually show the need, and the need is what gets donors interested in funding whatever it is your organization is doing. So make sure you don't skip over this. Unpack it, talk about why it's important, why it's persisting, and in the resolution of the story, this is where you're going to demonstrate how your organization plus donors are able to resolve this conflict together through the combination of creative programming or services plus philanthropy that makes it all happen. And finally, you're going to include a call to action to ask donors to join this story, to participate, and to make that donation. This is a really solid story structure to help you tell a great fundraising story in your next appeal or fundraising initiative. So there you have it. That's the story structure I use in fundraising stories, and I hope it'll help you and your organization as well. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Let me know if this is something you've tried, something you're interested in doing, or maybe if you have a different way of thinking about your story structure. I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to leave a comment. And if you're looking for some additional resources to help you tell great stories, be sure to download my Storytelling Success Checklist to help you get your storytelling in order and make sure you're consistent, memorable, and outstanding in your storytelling. And finally, if you've liked this video, be sure to like it here on YouTube, subscribe to our channel using the button in the lower right-hand corner, and you'll be notified of the weekly videos that we produce each week to help you tell great stories in your fundraising and communications.